Hi, Alan Stratton from As Wood Turns. About the time of St. Patrick's Day, I was considering a shamrock bowl. I'd seen some turned in the solid, but they seemed to be kind of blah because the outside was always round and just had three kind of small bowls in the middle. So I thought, could I do something different along the lines of a shamrock bowl? Well, I started it and it took me a lot longer than I expected, so I didn't get anything out by the time of St. Patrick's Day. But here we are, just in time for next year's St. Patrick's Day. Here is a segmented shamrock bowl. It's made up of, in effect, three small bowls that are joined together into a shamrock shape. So I think it's nice. There's a couple of side benefits. One is, with the offcuts, I made myself another tiny oblong bowl. And my Cobra, another collection of the offcuts into a fun shape, just for feeling and whatever. But meanwhile, let's turn this so that you can have an adventure like I did in time for next year's St. Patrick's Day.
Since this is a segmented project, let us review some essentials. My wedgie sled, calipers, magnetic blade guard, segment length guide. All of this on my table saw. Not shown, I have a set of 3D printed ankle templates for many angles used to set the sled bars. The wood came from my fellow segmented woodturner who died last year. I used the rub joint to assemble my rings, first into pairs, then halves, then finally whole rings. I've migrated to this technique from the all-at-once glue-up, which is popular with many segmented woodturners. I also use combination waste blocks and threaded faceplates. When finished for a project, I face them off and save them for the next project. When the waste blocks get thin, I glue on another piece of wood. A selfie for all the rings. You may notice that the wood was not uniformly dimensioned. I'll take care of the thickness variances with a drum sander. The center variances will wait until during glue-up. Off camera, I glued up all three bowls the usual way, except that the bottom ring has no center, only a ring like all the others. My plan viewed this omission as essential to enable holding the bowl solid while sawing. My plan includes reversing the bowl for later processing. To this end, I prepared paper templates indicating the center and glued them to OSB. I plan to use the paper form to guide the sign, and glued these OSB boards onto the top of each bowl. The live center aligned the OSB so that I could find the axis again from the other side. Then I parted off the bowl from its faceplate. At this point, I realized my mistake. I parted off the bowls too soon. I should have shaped each of the three bowls already. Duh, my bad. I had to use the OSB differently. I drove a bolt through the axis to again mount the still rough bowl back onto the lathe. Then I cleaned up the bottom and glued the waste faceplate back onto the bowl. That was a big whoops. It was quite an exercise in alignment. Now I need to turn each of the three bowls to match each other as closely as possible. However, I did not count on perfection. First, I rough-turned the exterior to remove the joint points and to establish a general flow to the exterior. I stopped frequently to measure the diameter at levels of the bowl. I do need each bowl to match the others. While I had cleaned up some interior irregularities as I glued up the rings, I still needed to clean up some. This time I used a heavy box scraper, then sanded and applied wipe-on poly to each bowl. I had to revise my plan for sawing the bowls. Since I need to saw each bowl on the table saw, I need some fixtures. With a base of OSB, I glued on a paper guide and another small disc to hold a long bolt. Without the small disc, the recessed bolt head would have pulled through the thin, fragile OSB with pressure from the bolt. Using the paper guide and a 3D printed step disc for alignment of the open center, I attached each bowl to the OSB base. The edge of the OSB will ride against the saw rip fence for a consistent cut. Now to make the first slice from each bowl. The bowl is a consistent distance from the fence, held in place by a 3D printed step disc, bolt, and nut. Swap the bowl for number 2. The only difference is that the OSB base is a bit more narrow now. Same for bowl number 3. The fixture makes the cut as consistent as possible. A single cut may work for a pair of bowls, but these are tri-bowls. Another cut at 120 degrees is required. Same fixture for bowl number 2. The paper guide enables setting the angle. Whew! Cutting the bowls is complete. This was white knuckle sawn, only possible with the sliding fixture. With all 3 bowls cut, I can test how they fit together. Did I get the angle right? Yes, but it's still too late otherwise. This is stressful. I have to be brave and plunge on. I decided to add a slice of sappy walnut between the bowls. I glued a piece to each bowl while making sure I glued to the correct side of the bowl. While I'm at it, I glued a piece to the first cut, offcut, for fun. Time to check the alignment before the final glue-up. I had to make some adjustments on the disc sander. Then glued the 3 pieces together. Meanwhile, I glued the bowl offcuts for fun pieces, and let the unified bowl dry. This is followed by a lot of carving to remove the excess wood from between the bowls. I carved on the fun offcuts also, followed by a lot of sanding of the joints. What about the center triangular void? I used a cone center to align the void and then used scrap wood disc to screw the bowl to a faceplate, then drilled for a plug for the void. The hole is stepped for a good seat for the plug. Now I need to fill and refinish the centers for each bowl segment. Using a large faceplate, I press the bowl aligned to one of the bowl segments. Each of the other 2 bowls is screwed through the center plug. With this setup, the bowl section is lined for drilling the mortise in the base. I repeated this procedure for each of the 3 bases. With this preparation, I was able to turn and glue in plugs in each of the 3 bases. At this point, there's a small overhang on the 3 bases. With a small burr on my icon carver, I removed the excess wood and sanded. The carver got a lot of use on this project. With sanding complete, a couple of coats of wipe-on poly will protect the wood and provide some sheen. With that, my tri-bowl is complete. I thought about turning it about at St. Patrick's Day. It took a bit longer to complete. However, it is ready for next St. Patrick's Day. It is an interesting bowl, at least to me. But what do you think? Next time, I would need to try more spherical bowls that would join together very differently. A double bowl would be a piece of cake after this one. Meanwhile, please give this video a thumbs up and subscribe to my website in addition to subscribing to YouTube. When you subscribe to my website, I email when there is a new video, which is more reliable than YouTube's wandering algorithmic recommendations. Please share my videos with your friends. I keep these videos short and to the point to respect your viewing time. I always appreciate your comments and questions, and please wear your full face shield whenever the lathe is running.